Hi everyone, here's a short tutorial on how to facilitate Find Common Ground forum. Alright, so first thing you want to do is get your screen set up so that you can have your script from the CGA moderator guide script here pulled up as a split screen, or if you happen to have another monitor that you can connect to your computer, to have them pulled up so that you can copy and paste from that document. Once you get logged into your account on findcommonground.org, you want to go to your scheduled forums tabs, and hopefully you already have scheduled forum. If not, remember the schedule new forum button is here. You can see my previous video on how to set up a forum. To get your forum launched, you're going to hit this green play button here that's in the circle. Wait a second while it loads. And if you see, someone's already joined my forum. It says Test Jareth has joined your forum. What I have done is I've joined my forum on a different browser. I've used Safari here on my Mac, and I'm using Chrome here for my moderator account. Is what works best for me. And you join here. You'll give them you'll type in the 9-digit code there and join with just use a different email address. And then to get started here, before anyone joins, usually I'm in here getting everything ready. I'll type in my the custom message I want that'll stay here the entire forum. From my script, the first thing that I put in here is while waiting for joiners here. And I have this script color coded. If you got it from me, yours should be color coded as well. And this kind of divvies out the stuff, what I plan to only put in the chat, what I plan to say vocally if you're using Zoom, like the events that I'm planning. And some of them I've marked for both. That's usually detailed information or something I want them to be able to refer back to. So I can just copy and paste these things into my chat box here to send to the entire group. This box next to it is just the whisper box, so I only send it to one person. But once I hit send that to group, it'll put that all in there. Now that's a pretty long message there. When you're facilitating, it's usually ideal to break these things up, especially when you're asking a question at the end of something that you want them to reply to or anything like that. It's good to put those things separately. So if I might have actually broke this up into 2 or even 3 messages here, so it's a little bit easier to manage for participants. But this is just my greeting and some instructions for them to get started. If you'll notice on your participant screen, things look a little bit different down here. You still have the same box down here, but up here there should be a video on how to participate. And you'll see here that your participants box, you can add more slots if you need more people to be able to join, or delete them if you don't want to let more people join. And you should see your name up here in the top right. Once everybody's ready, the first thing you'll notice that they'll be doing here is filling out their personal stories. They'll also have some demographic information to fill out if you left that feature on. So give them some time here in the lobby, and this should be planned into your time limit for the event. Some things you're going to go through here on the script, just kind of use these as it makes sense. They're also labeled here and color coded. No matter which script you have, based on the page number, you'll see where you're supposed to be using those different messages. And so you can see that for the lobby, you're supposed to get all the way through, let them know what's next. And so that'll be labeled down here with a heading. And so you always want to give them a heads up that you're going to be moving on. If you're using Zoom, you can get a thumbs up or anything like that works. And to advance the forum, you'll see it's kind of hard to find, but there's another little play button here that's gray this time. And you're going to press that, and that'll ask you if you're ready to start the forum. You're going to go ahead and press OK. It won't let you do that unless you have a participant joined, and so that's the purpose of me having a test account joined today. Now, while your participants are looking at all of the issues here, this is the section where they're going to select their baseline top 5. This is what you'll see. I believe they see this as well as the participants. Once they finish, they'll see where everybody else is at. But this is all you watch the whole time. If you're wanting to read through the issue with them, especially with younger audience, this is advisable. What you can do is pull up the issue guides on a separate screen and read through them with them, but you won't be able to see them in the same way they do in just a big long list. But you should be able to know what they're looking at, as they'll be in the same order as they are on the issue guide. Once they're done here, or if you need to force finish, if someone's struggling to finish, they don't necessarily have to finish this part, but it's helpful. So try to give them time, give them some warnings here. There's some messages here on the script that you can use to whisper to people who are struggling, or if a lot of the time people just forget to hit that blue, they have a blue next button up here where your force finish button is. A lot of the time they just forget to push that when they get done. So make sure you give them a reminder or two, either in the chat or vocally if you're on Zoom, to make sure they're finishing up when they're done. So I'll go ahead and force finish through the stages today so I don't have to flip screens. And once I hit next, now we're on option 1. You can see which stage you're at on your forum progress bar here. And so we're on option 1. So again, they'll be seeing the options here and they'll be putting them in the different boxes just to describe how they feel about them. And this, you can describe this to them using your script here. It's nice and easy, just follow along. And if you ever get lost and you're confused where you're at, just scroll back up to the top here. The first page gives you where you need to be at, and the page numbers are right here if you happen to get lost. But don't worry. People are usually pretty patient with you, and they're usually really impressed with your abilities. So don't feel like they think you're failing, because they probably think you're doing better than you think. So once you get done with option 1 here, get everybody through it. This isn't the part where they're discussing it, so make sure you're not letting them do that. As soon as they've ranked that, this is the graph that hopefully you've seen before. And this is based on the participants' opinions. Since I'm not actually participating, all my bubbles are down here because there's no opinions made. But they can click through these in a couple ways, either by clicking the dots, which are usually spread out, or they can use these arrows up here. It's always a way that they can get through these. And this is where you can have some discussion with them, and some tips here to start with the ones that they agree upon the most. So up here in this green section, you'll see that they have the most agreement and the most support. If you happen to have one that they agree upon a lot, but no one supports, it'll be up here in the red, which isn't usually something they agree they all don't want to do. So you could mention that in your discussion, but it's usually good to focus on the things they're finding common ground on. So once you're done discussing, and try to follow the time limits that it gives there on your script so you can get done within the hour and a half that you've scheduled for. I'm gonna go ahead and keep force finishing myself through these. As you can see, we're on option 2. So you'll basically be, option 1's usually a little clunky because people are getting used to it if it's their first time. But once you get to option 2, people kind of get the hang of what you're doing, and they should be used to doing it without as much instruction. So be mindful of that. Let them do their thing. One thing to mention here is that they can always change their opinions on the actions and the drawbacks here. I can't do it because I'm a moderator. But you as a moderator, you can actually click through the participants here. There will be a big list of whoever you have in there. You can click through them to see what their opinions are, so you can kind of gauge where people are coming from. If you want to get an alternate perspective on one of the actions that you're discussing, you can click through and see who maybe is a little weary of a certain action, and look at their drawback opinions here. But this is something that they can still edit here on this screen. So if they happen not to finish the action evaluation, that was the last step, that's actually all right, because they can do it here. So it's not as bad to force finish as the getting started when you're doing the baseline top 5. They can't edit those, but they can always edit these as long as you're in them. Once you finish the option, though, they won't be able to go back and edit it at the end. So make sure you give them notice that it's their last chance to change their opinions on the action. That's when you kind of wrap up the discussion around that option. Another thing that I haven't mentioned yet is, if you want to read the description of the whole option or the perspective that you're taking for that part of the discussion, click on that little blue eye. It's next to the gold heading that's the option you're talking about. And it helps when you're referring to options and actions. It can get confusing because there's usually three or four options that you're doing that are kind of perspectives on the issue, and then usually around 5 action steps within each option. And so what you do is, when you say option, it helps to actually read the entire option. So I would say, we're on option 3, engage the community and parents. And then you can read through the description, and it gives a little bit of the perspective that you're taking with this discussion on this option. And then again, you go through here and do the same thing with all of the actions. I recommend when we do it, especially with younger people, we read through the option before we even start the discussion, and then we pick 1 or 2 of the actions to go through and start our discussions. And people are welcome to bring up any of the other actions as well. But it's best as moderator to try to keep people focused. Obviously, you have given them some rules to follow by, and so make sure you're keeping your discussions on topic, and that people are focusing on the issues. And you can send those whispers. Is also a helpful thing here. If you're in the middle of the discussion and a participant does something that's a little off color, you can send them a whisper. And if you don't think they notice, then it might be appropriate to address them more directly. But once you're done with all the options here, you'll finish this and you'll be in the common ground screen. And so this is where they'll see all 3 of those graphs kind of merge together in one big graph, and some of them are rotated around, but it might take you a second to get oriented. But what you'll be doing in this screen, it's in your script as well, but going through, and you'll be asking some more reflection questions here at the end. You have a couple pages of common ground reflection. and you'll be talking to them about what issues they found common ground about. Here at the bottom, you can see the group initial top 5, what you started out, and then you always see at the end what your ending top 5 will be. Should hopefully be here in the common ground box here, and these should be the things that your group realizes, yeah, we did agree upon these things. We had a lot of different perspectives, but we came together and agreed upon all of these things. The support per option is a cool feature here. You can see that each of these they're all red right now because I'm just using a simulated account, but there would actually be some hopefully in the green and yellow if you had participants in it. And so you can see which perspective your group kind of most agreed with, and you can talk about that as well and see which perspective they most agreed with on your issue. And then this is the group satisfaction survey. This is something that you'll see results from once the group's filled it out. That's supposed to be their satisfaction with the common ground they found, if they think it would actually be effective if they implemented these things. And you can again, these blue arrows are up here, so you can go through and talk about the actions and refer to them and click through them. For them, they do actually have another box here. They will see my initial top 5 here, and the next to it will be this group initial top 5. And so they'll be able to go see what they thought at first, and then realize after their discussion what things maybe they had their own minds changed about, and maybe some things that they helped other people realize about different actions that they really supported. So that's a really cool feature. Once you hit next, I think that's the part where it'll pop up with that feature. We didn't have an initial top 5 because I didn't fill one out, but this is where all that information will be. And they can actually download the forum report. I think theirs is a little bit more limited than yours will be as a moderator. But you can also download this later, so if you forget to, no worries. It'll be on your account when you go back and look at your previous forums. So once you're done, you've wished everyone farewell and wrapped up your event, you can go ahead and hit finish forum, and that auto puts an event there, and it invites your participants to continue chatting. If you're in an event, it'll probably be time to end anyway and move on to something else. But if you happen to be doing one, you could let your participants stay on and keep chatting. And then once you're done, go ahead and leave the forum. And this is the part where you can see that it's now a recent forum. It'll be in your history. You can go back and download the report with this button here. And that's all you have to do here. So you can do as many practice forums as you want. It won't hurt anything. You can include your friends and take turns facilitating is something that's really advisable. But have some fun with it. Go through and discover some new issue guides. And that's it. Thanks for watching.